mean, the thing about
I don't like hearing that we started a project and no one really knew what they were getting.
well, the thing about everybody's saying put an RFP out there, I get it, but you have to realize if you put an RFP out there, you have to have plans, documents, and specs. You can't just tell somebody, hey, put it on the website or whatever. I mean, if that's what you want to do, put it on the website just so you're covering your ass. I mean, so be it. But if you want an RFP, you have to have plans. You have to have plans, documents, and specs.
We should have plans, documents, and specs.
Well, then it's going to drag out. Then you're going to have to pay for it.
When it came to finance last month, and I think me and you kind of argued that we shouldn't even do it to begin with, because it was all of a sudden they had approved something before, and all of a sudden we spring on this extra money that nobody presented before. And nobody said that we would not follow everything sounded like we're gonna be consistent with our procedures like we do with everything else. Nobody said we're gonna change procedures for this. So, and it sounded like everybody had their stuff together at that time. Now all of a sudden it's, well, we don't really have a plan.
Everybody uses RFP as a scapegoat. And I just don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think you know what an RFP is. I'll be honest.
No, that's your job to know that as facilities head.
I know what an RFP is, and then you need plans, documents, and specs, so you can get all the contractors apples to apples on it.
I mean, if we don't have plans for what we're doing with it, we probably shouldn't have approved it in the first place.
So then you're gonna have to get approved drawings, to do that. So this project that's going on right now, if you're gonna do that, the way things are gonna go on, it'll be another year before it gets done.
And it'll be more expensive.
And I believe that there's a higher Northwestern judge or whatever that said that this needs to be done ASAP, correct? Possibly. I don't know for sure, but that's
we can't use courtroom 2 for other judges right now without the Zoom capability. I mean, the state court system has done the digital audio recording. When they came up, they normally wouldn't have even done it. We got them up here because we're using that courtroom so much. And now, and they put it in, and they weren't going to. So, but because we needed it, and it was a priority for the state, they said they'll do it, but we need the microphones and everything.
So we have the same guidelines in place whether it's ARPA funds or it's our own funds, right?
Yes.
For that dollar amount of a project.
Yes.
And what is that dollar amount again? I mean, where this starts?
I believe it's 25,000.
I think under 10,000, you can get quotes.
Yeah, and even 5.
Well, I understand Gary's frustration, but now think back, Gary, to when this project started. If this would have been done this way, we wouldn't be sitting here still hammering it out.
But I think
because it sounds like when it started, people didn't really know what they were getting for equipment. But if it had been laid out in some type of a brief plan, we need this, 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 and this, and then if those specs wouldn't have been matched, we would have said, okay, you didn't provide the service that we gave you the RFP for. I get where you're coming from, but you gotta get where we're coming from when we get over that 25,000, because either way a 25 can turn into 100, or a 30 can turn into 150 because it wasn't done correctly, is what I'm saying.
And I do, and I think the last time they did it, I think it was only what, $5,000-10,000, the last part of the.
Well, courtroom 1 was done this same way, and that was the same amount of money. The first portion of this was 5,000, but that's.
And if I remember right, that's what we were presented was this is going to be a total cost of $5,000, and then all of a sudden there was extra stuff that nobody knew about after the fact.
That wasn't included.
Yeah.
And I don't know honestly how that happened, because courtroom 1, the same thing was done. Because that's what I said. How come it's so cheap with courtroom 1? And I asked IT, and they said because you don't need the Polycom. You might not even need the Polycom, but we needed something else. Because when I look at what was done in courtroom 1, the dollar amount ended up being the same. But there were no RFPs. It was Audio Architect, because they're the ones who do all of the courtroom things throughout northern Wisconsin. They're the only vendor who does it.
Can we go off of what was done in the other courtroom and put that together out as what needs to be done yet?
That's what you have now.
And that's what we have in 2.
Wasn't done correctly.
Courtroom 1?
Right. We ended up we didn't claim that as ARPA. We instead had to move wages and the amount of that as well as wages because we weren't compliant with courtroom 1.
It's on the resolution, it's ARPA.
Yeah, but because we didn't receive multiple quotes and didn't follow policy, we were not able to
There was a lot of things the previous folks, I think, did because ARPA money was just kind of coming around. They really didn't even know the guidelines, what they're gonna be able to do. So they're like, oh, let's put it on ARPA. Well, that kind of falls into the fool me once guideline. I mean, the guidelines are what the guidelines are. We can't change it.
Alright, I'll look at those, see if we can get emails or whatever. Not quite sure. I gotta get to court, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nat.
All right. All set. I think Gary's here with me. Why don't we go to number 6? We got several here.
Yeah.
I've got some thoughts on ARPA funding. My idea is to put a hold on all of them at the present time. We've got,
Last month,
We've got
you
a
were
hospital.
pushing stuff on there.
pardon?
Last stuff, your idea was to put more stuff on there.
No, not really.
You voted yes.
We had, my thoughts is that the board has never given any direction as to how this money should be spent. But, you know, we've got $1 million left there, a little, but we've got a hospital out there, we've got a clinic that we don't know, we've got right of first refusal on. We may need to purchase that just to get our parking lots back and then maybe sell it later, whatever, there's no thoughts there, but,
Can we use ARPA funds to buy the clinic if it comes to that?
I think we could.
That would be
How do you get 3 quotes on? How do you get 3 quotes on purchase of that? You could use ARPA funds for purchasing property?
If it's for economic, I wouldn't see why not.
So, you know, I don't think there's any rush to spend this money, this ARPA money.
No, I agree.
We've got all next year to get rid of money.
2 years left.
Yeah, so.
We're gonna have some emergencies that come up yet. I mean, there's gonna be some emergencies here and there that we have no choice, but,
The generator.
yeah, I mean, that Gary's gonna deal with and it'll be gone before you know it.
That's my thought anyway, but, so Gary, why don't you give us your spiel on the generator then?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna need 3 quotes, I did get 3 quotes, I reached out to 3 different, contractors, actually 2 of them teamed up together, this is where I need clarification, I guess, from the county is, okay, I'm getting a 60 kW, quote from the electricians, but what are we doing with the building? Are we tearing that wing down, building there, building in the parking lot? I mean, that all depends on what kind of generator you get. I mean, that's where I'm telling you, you have to have plans and documents and specs on what you want, otherwise you're not apples to apples on anything. So I can get you quotes all day on that, I'll be more than happy to do it, but it's a waste of time.
So we might wanna wait off on the generator anyway.
Well, yeah, you can wait off, I mean, if it goes down, it goes down, but I mean.
Well, what you're saying is you wanna wait and see what we vote on.
I just need,
For the master plan, right? So-
yeah, I just need, information, basically.
And so that has not, last month it was on the board agenda and it's gonna be on this month's again, I believe,
I
correct?
think so.
So, I mean, until that point, we really want to know, so I mean, it might not be a bad idea then to wait off, because if you say that it might change depending on what we do with that.
Well, right now I got quotes just for a 60 kW, the 2 generators we have right now, it'd eliminate the one over here, and that, this old one that's down here, it would keep this old one, but it would be like a backup to the backup generator. And if the backup generator went down for some reason, the new one, that this one would still cover dispatch, keep dispatch going. But there's really no sense in getting rid of that one. It's from 1984. I mean, it's old, but I mean.
And that one's over.
It's in the Sally Port area.
So would that get affected if, because we don't know, I mean, the board hasn't even voted to hire an architect. So it may or may not happen, you know. And if an architect does get involved, what are we looking at, 6 months, probably a year. You know, to be realistic, maybe longer.
Yep.
So if it was, you know, Wold kind of thought maybe the south side was the place to go, would that generator still be able to stay intact, or would that disappear?
I guess it all depends on, well, this one here, would that be part of the tear down? Right there?
It would start at the backside of the Sally Port and go across the whole south lawn.
Well, the generator right now is right on the backside of the Sally Port.
So it'd probably have to be moved. Or built, you can't build it in.
To be
It's
honest
gotta
with
go
you,
outside.
I want, if you're gonna do new there, and tear that down, to be honest with you, if you're tearing that down, you might as well just get rid of that generator then. The only reason I was trying to think of keeping the generator is because it's there on that now, and and you wouldn't have to haul it out and.
Could one of those old generators be, is there one at the senior center or anything like that? Could one of them be moved there, or it'd be too costly?
You could possibly do it, but it'd probably be more costly than what it's actually worth. I mean, the one over here is a newer I mean, it's 10 years newer than this one, but the circuit board's been going up. I mean, 4 different circuit boards have been going out. Every time the circuit board goes out, it's $1,000, $1,500. You know, just for the part.
I think anything you do right now is gonna be premature.
Yeah, that's a problem.
From a generator standpoint, because you don't have a clue. You know, if we knew and say the board agreed on a set of plans, we're gonna do
Yep.
East parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go, oh, I can put it over here behind the Sally Port, you know. But until then, how are you gonna know?
I would agree with you 100%. I just want you guys to know that these generators are on their last leg, and that. But if it was me, I would do it once you guys figure out what you're gonna do with the building. Maybe you just, instead of getting a 60 kW, maybe you get a 200 kW that runs everything. I mean,
By then it might have to be put into the building project. So you might want to keep that in mind if this comes back around again.
Correct, because I'm sure, you know, if you're gonna get the engineers or whatever to design plans and everything for this, which you're gonna have to, I mean, they can figure that right in for you. Then you got plans and specs for RFPs. Right now, I just have contractors come here, hey, this is what I want, you know, this is what I need, this is what we need.
Does each one of them run a certain section of the courthouse, or will they each run the courthouse? And there's 2 of them.
Well, these 2, I believe, work kind of in conjunction and it's just emergency lighting. Pretty much throughout. I mean, you can't do I don't think you can do any physical work in the building, it's just emergency lighting.
And one must run like the boiler system.
Correct, the heating system.
These generators that you have now that we have, do they go on, or do they come on manually or automatic?
Well, they test every week, and they test every week, but as soon as the power goes out, I believe they're on like I think it's like a 30 seconds once the power goes off, they pop
They come on themselves?
Yep.
So if we had to do, kind of putting you on the spot here, if we had to do some patching to these over the next year, what do you think it might be? I know I'm really putting you out there.
I think we could get by, but I just don't wanna put my name on saying that, saying that all of a sudden power goes out and.
Well, we might have to put 5 or 10 in them or something to patch them by to.
Possibly, I know, you know, this one out here, the circuit boards are kind of getting obsolete on it. I know they just brazed that, the last one, they just fixed it, they kind of brazed it and made it work basically, so that's how it's working right now.
But it's okay from an OSHA or whatever standpoint?
But it's okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this one here is definitely older, this one here is diesel, a diesel one, that one's natural gas. Yeah. But, I guess the biggest thing is if the power goes out, I mean, it's a dispatch, you know what I mean? 'Cause, I mean, that's probably the crucial thing to have running.
And it's not something, I mean, with the dollar amount on here, we have to advertise. It's not something you can get in, even if we didn't have to advertise, it's not something you can get in here the next day if it goes out.
It'll be, the last quote I got, cause I got a quote in November, and then it was they were 24 weeks out for a generator, but the last quote I got in January is 60 weeks out, or just to get one.
And do we really wanna take the wait and see approach when it comes to our emergency operations center? And the potential
where are you
for that
gonna-
to work?
I mean, I guess the big thing is if you're gonna do it, where are you gonna put it so that it would be safe? So that it wouldn't affect maybe future plans. I mean, or it could be really expensive
They
to
were,
move it again.
they were actually talking about putting it where the old one is right now, in that courtyard there,
Okay.
and that, but, I
Oh,
don't,
it's kind of in between? That might be a safe spot.
you know, kinda in between zoning and the sheriff's department there, kind of, that courtyard.
I guess that was never talked about, having it done, I'm sorry.
Was there quite a delay on time?
For lead time,
Yeah.
60 weeks right now,
How many?
60 weeks,
60?
yep.
Over a year. About the time we might have, if the board chooses, might have a rough draft back from the architect.
Well, it's not like we don't have anything.
Right.
I think they got generators at the highway too, don't they? Didn't we have a power failure at Fairgrounds and got one generator from the highway?
I remember you guys
I
had,
know we rented one when we had a tornado, we rented a big generator too.
We did a couple of years ago, just 2 years ago or so, they had a power failure at the Fairgrounds. And they got generators out there.
I remember you guys saying that a while back, and Tom Thorson had, I told him, and he said that, yes, you guys do have a generator at the highway shop, but it wasn't big enough or something, so that you guys had to rent one from the city. And that, I don't know how true it is, but
Supposedly,
that's what Tom
the
Thorson
fairgrounds,
said.
it was big enough for the highway, but for here it wouldn't be.
So you've got 3 quotes? Or did I cut you off before you got that far? or-
I reached out to 3 different contractors to get 3 quotes, but the 2 other contractors, they combined their quote together. And that, so actually I only got 2 licenses.
I think, and to move forward with it, because of the dollar amount, under the state statutes, I believe we would have to advertise for it, but, I mean, the quotes gives us a ballpark of what you're looking to potentially get approved to pay for ARPA request.
And I guess where I'm going on that is, like I said, I just had them contractors come here and I kinda told them what I was thinking, I got their recommendations, so I didn't have any physical plans, specs or anything to give to them, because I didn't know what was going on with the building, obviously. So and them quotes, just so I guess, just so you know, the quotes, the one quote was, just under 84,000. And then the other quote was just over 113,000.
You say 138?
113.
Yeah, 84 and 113. Any difference in brand or?
Same brand. Kohler 60 kW.
So I guess what's your thoughts on the difference of the 29,000?
I think it's because them 2 companies combined, right, basically. And the one company was purchasing the generator, and the other company was installing it. So we're the first contractor, they're purchasing it and then installing it all together.
So is this one of those, if we were, say, go ahead and purchase this, is this one of those deals where in 60 weeks there could be a price increase? Or is this gonna be locked in?
I would think as long as you put an order in, it would be locked in, but.
It's a
I'm
complete
sure there's some,
setup, complete installation and everything, right?
that's installation, the transfer switches, I mean, there's gonna be some, the feeder lines, actually that, handle room just down the hall there, the feeder lines all go into the boiler room, and then go out to the generator room. So some of that would have to be increased, and the lines would have to be bigger and everything, because you're moving from a 60 kW to a 30 kW, that's out there right now. And there's a 50 kW out here, but this 50 kW is so old that the electricians won't even test load it more than 50%, because they're scared of it.
No trading value on the old ones or nothing.
I guess I don't know.
So this, that's another dumb question. So if you were thinking of keeping the older one as backup, and why is that?
Just because of the inconvenience, I guess, to take it out of there and everything, and it's,
Couldn't we leave 2 right up in there? Would that be the end of the world if you kept, I mean, and Unless that one is in poor shape, but you have one that's 10 years newer, could we have two in the same area? And your primary and your backup?
You probably could, yeah, you could.
And then this one here, just hit the road, because I'm thinking from a value standpoint, and you know better than I do, but.
Even though this one's probably 10 years newer, I think this one's probably in better shape than Collins.
Okay.
That's my thinking.
I just like the natural gas thing, but yet I still like the option of having two different sources of energy for them too, which maybe isn't the worst.
And with this one, when we had the power outage here from the snow, I mean, this generator was probably running, will probably run for 6 hours. I mean, that was it. I think we were only down, what, 7 hours maybe?
Yeah, the farmhouse was down.
You would have gotten back the fuel sooner if we would have had power back.
But there is a chance though that if we were to follow Old's recommendation, that south wing could come down, there's a good chance this one would have to be moved.
Yep, if that's where they're going from there.
So I guess I'm wondering, you're gonna have to tell us when the time comes, is it worth paying the money to move it?
It probably wouldn't, because you
Or
have
is it worth to just leave that one there and put a new one next to it? You know what I'm saying?
I'd probably lean towards that route then, even though that one's in worse shape, because otherwise you'd have to, move it and plumb it all in and everything.
That'd be another, probably worse than 10.
Yep.
Not really. Yes.
I would like to, just so you guys, I'd like to say that everything's gonna be fine, and if a power outage comes, that'll be fine, but I don't wanna, put my name on it and say it is. And I just wanna let you know that something should be done in the future, probably. It'd be great if we could wait till whatever we find out with that.
If we could just like look in the magic future, see what's gonna happen. Roll it wrong.
Because, we'll just say for instance, you do buy a 60 kW, then maybe down the road, your engineer or whatever says, well, why didn't you put a 200 kV in there?
That's not gonna work, yeah, and then we just spent that money and then we gotta spend money again.
Yeah, I mean, the only other option is we limp this along, and if we have to, we just rent a mobile generator.
How hard is it to get a mobile generator?
When the power went down, I had B&B Electric come, in 2 hours they had it hooked up, pretty much.
It's like Fabco and stuff still rents them, right?
What's that?
Fabco and stuff still rents them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if we wait until we see what's going on with the building, chances are we won't be high and dry, because we could probably get a rental in here.
Yeah.
Within a fairly short time, because that would be my biggest concern. I mean, this whole snowstorm thing kind of woke us all up, I was up without power for days over at my place. And, but if we have a backup plan, I guess it wouldn't be as risky if a generator goes out and now we're high and dry and dispatch can't do their job, which, I mean, there was piles of calls during that.
I mean, I could probably if you guys would give me the approval to just lock it in with one of the electricians, give us first dibs on a generator if the power goes out. I mean, obviously they're gonna charge us a fee when we get it, but I don't think I'd have to, lock one in with a fee or something like that.
Well, you're talking so if we have to rent one, getting approval to do that?
Well, just say for instance, we get another power outage, and just say for instance, I call B&B Electric up, and they say, well, yeah, they're all out now, and that, but, I mean, if I talk to them ahead of time and say, hey, can you lock us in for one if the power goes out?
So there would be a retainer fee for kind of.
Would you say probably not though, right?
I would say maybe not a fee up front, but say it happened, the power happened, and just say the rental was $1,500 a week or whatever, but maybe they charge an extra $500 for giving us the.
Like,
Correct.
we're gonna rent it if the power goes out, but we'll pay, if we rent it, we'll pay an extra.
Correct.
Instead of $1,500, we'll pay
$2,000
a
roughly,
week
or
or
whatever,
something,
yeah.
which honestly, compared to the chances of putting in a new generator and then that, for $100,000 and then that, having to put another new generator in, it might be worth more, which we might never use, but then at least we got a backup plan, so we're not.
See, that's the other thing too, I was just thinking, if the county was to go ahead with the jail, we don't know what that style jail, is it gonna require more power? I would think it'd be more efficient, but it's gonna be a little larger. So we really don't know what we might do the 50 or 60K and then go, uh-oh.
Yep. I would think, cause when I was walking around with the electricians, that's, you know, I was telling them, it's possible this is gonna happen and this, you know, I don't know, but, that's their exact thoughts is, well, you might get a bigger generator, you know, you might be just
We just
wasting,
don't know.
you might be just wasting money, because in the future, you're gonna have to buy a bigger one anyways, but there's a, like they're saying, we got a need for one right now, but if we went the other route, you know, it'd probably be okay for backup for a while.
Well, plus one of their big things in the Wolf presentation was the boiler system. So they really didn't list the generators, but they kept throwing out that, what was it, 1.3 or 1.6 or almost 1.8, okay. So you're 1.9.
And I,
you know, just to replace that, so, which hopefully can do a lot cheaper, but you just don't know.
and I guess I don't know for sure, but you know, these boilers are actually pretty good boilers that are in here. And typically a big boiler, I mean, some of the boilers at the hospital are 60 years old. And some of them are in excellent condition yet.
Is that an option? Is there a generator over there that,
There's a big one over there.
and that's ours?
I don't know, that's why I asked a long time ago about just switching out, but nobody said it.
Should be ours.
I would think so.
It was ours before they rented it, right?
Yeah.
Unless it wasn't there, and they replaced it or something, but you'd have thought if they replaced it, they'd have moved it to the facility. I mean, if it was theirs, you'd have thought they'd have moved it to the new facility, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we're taking everything else.
So I guess there might be an option for you.
Yeah, and there's a big one out there, and I asked, I think back in September, I kinda asked about it, but
Well, that brings up a point, you know, how much are they taking out of there are they taking stuff that belongs to us? You know, I know there's that MRI machine, I mean, that thing, we spent $1 million on it.
Really?
And is that gonna be left? Are they taking it? What, I don't know.
Almost sounds like maybe a suggestion, does property need to go through and have a special meeting just on what's in there and what's supposed to stay?
That was handled when we had the hospital board. We had the hospital board.
Who was on the hospital board?
Sometime, former sheriff.
Dave?
Huh?
Dave?
Willingham?
No, Pete Moss. Remember, he was on it. But that MRI machine was purchased before his time. I remember vaguely when, this is probably 10 years ago when he got that MRI machine.
Well, that stuff was bought with donations and fundraisers too, out there, wasn't it?
It was bought with hospital, it was bought with money from the hospital,
Auxiliary?
you know,
Oh,
the hospital, it made money.
Yeah.
Bought with that, with money that the hospital made.
But did the money come through the county?
I don't believe
So we gotta do some digging on that then.
I don't believe it did. I think it came through the hospital or respiratory.
But which was under the county at that time, correct?
Well, there was several county members, but then there was also city and community members who were appointed to the board.
but it was county owned at the time?
The hospital was.
Okay.
So then it should be county property.
Yeah, should be.
So we need to somehow, I mean, without getting any further off track than we already are, we're gonna have some type of, maybe a special meeting, get Gary steered on the right track here, what's what.
We'd have to get some records on it, I suppose. I don't remember. I think it's at least 10 years. What?
Yeah, in the contract, there's a listing of the assets that were transferred, so I mean, I can try to look through, we can have Rich figure that out, but I would think that the generator would be part of the building. And we still own the building, we've owned the building this entire time.
Well, like for example,
It's
now
not
we
listed
paid to
on the
upgrade the sprinkler
item.
system.
Yeah.
We paid to upgrade the sprinkler system. They didn't do it when they were paying rent to us. What was that? That was a hefty fee right there, wasn't it? I thought I heard $1 million for that or
Well,
something.
it was over $1 million, yeah.
Over $1 million. But, that was before they, decided to shut it down. A long time before they decided to shut it down. That sprinkler system must have been put in 6, 7 years ago.
Right, but I'm saying there's probably numerous things here, you know, that we need to figure out
Oh, yeah.
if they belong to us or not.
Like I said, that, I think it's an MRI. I know it was over, it was over $1 million that the hospital paid for. So who owns it now, or where is it? It's still
Well, they're
there.
probably gonna tell us it's not worth nothing because it's 10 years old. Who
Is
knows?
it still being used? I mean, I don't know.
Liability.
Well,
Right.
I'm sure it's being used yet.
I don't know if they could become obsolete or not.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I feel like all of the equipment did transfer over to them, and it was the building that we retained, but I don't
Well,
know.
it transferred,
Rich should be able to
in
know.
what way did it transfer? Did we just give it to them, or?
They bought it for $1.
Are you serious? You're joking.
No. Well, we can ask Rich to interpret all that, but.
I think there's a couple, 3 people that should have to sit out there with signs. I did this.
We couldn't get out of that state of mess.
Yeah, if there is a list that you have, you know, we should see it at some time.
I did email you guys all the contract back in.
Yeah, I'm looking at the materials
August.
contract, there's an NXC imaging, Toshiba Vintage MRI, MRI ramp.
Let me send that to Gary again too.
NXC imaging, Toshiba Vintage MRI scanner, is that what we're talking about?
MRI, it's gotta be.
So I'm assuming everybody read this when they signed the contract, what we were given, or no? Just signed.
I read through that, it's been a while, I don't remember all that. Need to read it again.
It's very possible we gave them the MRI. But we should find that out for sure.
So I guess I thought is, in retrospect to the generator, we're just gonna hold on that right
See
now.
what we do
Yeah, I
with the
think
building
so.
and then we can give you better direction.
Too many things up in the air at this point, so.
Yeah, I mean, we may have a generator there, we may not,
Well, the same thing applies to, forestry requests. You got a request in here for road systems and campsites.
You were over $1 million.
And so, well,
Doesn't leave us anything.
they, at the property meeting, they were talking about, like authorizing $100,000 for all the Inc. developing a road system for expansion. Not doing the whole project, the whole all the Inc. program was gonna be $750,000. So we proposed $100,000 for the road, and then so much for blacktop and village bridge, it's all listed there. But we're gonna put a hold on this generator, we might as well put a hold on all of them. I'm thinking,
My thought.
because, I think when it comes time to just make a decision and make a move on the hospital, whether we tear it down or not, which I think they're going to, so we need to find out what the deal is going forward on that clinic. And that, right now, as I understand it, they want $1 million, which means 90% of it would be $900,000. Now, whether that's hard and fast number or not, I don't know. That would take a major portion of our funds are left. Spent. appraisal was $1 million, isn't it?
Yes. But they sought that appraisal on their own.
Right.
The appraisal that matters, we have to mutually agree upon who the appraiser is.
Well,
Or we could get one of
but
our
the,
own too.
we could, but at the very least, we could accept their appraisal. Now, correct?
We
We
could,
could,
but
I
why
mean-
would we?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
kinda like if we're doing an appraisal for our property to sell, we're gonna
Well,
find nice.
now the point is, if we accept their appraiser, then we can expect that the 900,000 would be the maximum we'd have to pay, using their figures.
You're appreciating that
We're hoping
generator
it's cheaper and then negotiate between them.
generator cost.
But at present, right now, their figure, if they'd actually submitted $1 million quote to us, then the most we should expect to have to pay is 900,000.
Yeah, the very most.
That's what I mean,
Yeah.
using that as a guideline.
I see what you're saying.
Probably if we start talking.
Well,
Well, we've kinda gotten off track here a little bit, so.
So the ARPA requests, we want Jared and Mike to come down and talk about those.
Why don't we do it? Yeah, we can talk about it, but I know what my thought is on it.
Yeah. In their defense, Jeremy did not submit their ARPA requests with the rest of them. We weren't aware that there were any ARPA requests. Had we had them, they likely would have been included in the spiel of ARPA requests that were submitted last fall. So just kind of keep that in mind. Like I understand completely where you're coming from and I don't disagree with it. But I feel like they deserve to be given the same opportunity as the other departments were. It's not their fault that their former department head didn't bring those forward.
well, didn't he come in once and kinda explain it to us here a month or two ago?
Oh, yes.
We're talking back in like, August,
Yeah, with the
September.
budget process.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that is pretty forward, but.
Right. And, when I became the interim, Mike had asked me, what's the status on our ARPA requests? And I said, what ARPA requests? And then that's when Mike and Jared started coming to committee.
Well, I guess my,
Yeah,
do they have any quotes?
yes,
Okay.
I think so. I just texted
Because if
Mike.
they're gonna come in here, I guess to be honest with you, if they're gonna come in here and go, well, I think it's gonna be this, then they're kinda wasting their time.
I think they had
think
more
they had harder numbers.
Yeah, they didn't have like a lot of them because they didn't wanna, it'll have to go out it'll have to be advertised due to the amount, so.
Because
They
I
have a
would say,
price-
well,
they
I
have
wanna
a
buy a
price
truck
range,
tomorrow,
but
I
it's
think it's gonna cost $80,000.
They have support of their numbers.
Okay.
Well, they had estimates of what, I don't know, where they got the estimates from.
Yeah, they came to property last
But I
week.
think it was well over $1 million.
Yeah, and so.
If we did everything.
Yeah, so what property's recommending is much less, it's just the first part of, Audie Lake, and then, they were directing them to try to get grants for the rest of, or to see what other grants they could get for other parts of that. But it takes time for those grants, and so we wanted to be able to move forward to the point where they could, know what they were asking for grants, because the ARPA funds are gonna be gone or have to be spent by the time all of that potential DNR grant funding would come through. So they'll probably do a better job of explaining it. So they're gonna be coming down. Do we wanna talk about, go back to like 3 and 4 on the agenda?
Yeah, we can do that.
So the RCTC credit card payments, so when we talked, so RCTC has credit cards now that are under our account, but they're paying us for them. When we initially got the approval, it was that they would reimburse us prior to the payment date, payment being due to US Bank. We thought we could just do an internal bank transfer from their account to ours, but because of the small amount of transfers that they have in the banking account system that they have set up, in order for them to do like a transfer from their account to ours, even though it's the same bank, the bank would apparently have to like cut a check to send to us. So what they'd like to do, they do vendor runs on the 10th and 25th of each month. They would like to pay us on the 10th of every month instead of the 4th, so we'd be floating them the money from the 4th until the 10th for whatever credit card purchases they have. But they would just automatically pay us on the 10th of every month when they run their.
What's the maximum we would be floating, do you think, if
I'm-
we're gonna try to?
I can tell you what it was for January. That was the first month of purchases that they had. So really, I'm asking for forgiveness for January too, because
Oh,
well, yeah, sorry.
put that on the notes.
We were paying for it. And so if they have to do a special AP vendor run, they will, but it just kind of, and especially Tanya's the one that's doing, that part of the process. It just seems, to go out there and run it, but, change my things here. It was their credit card transaction. It looks like it was about almost 20,000.
6 days.
Of their credit card purchases in the month of January.
Oh,
Let
but
me
we're
just
gonna
double
float
check
them
again.
6 days.
Yes, because Verda pays the credit card on the 4th of the month, and RCTC runs their AP run on the 10th.
Does it have to be in the fourth?
We could work on changing that with US Bank, but then,
I mean, isn't there I guess, is that the due date on the card, or is it
yes,
due date
I mean,
on the
that's our
15th, and we're
contract
paying it
terms.
on the 4th?
No, that's our contract terms, is 10 days after the closing of the cycle, which is on the 25th, so we just pay.
And vendor run, you said 20, was that, salaries in there or not?
That was just for the credit card
Payroll.
purchase, but let me make sure that I'm understanding the descriptions in there right, so I was gonna look to see what they actually reimbursed us, but I believe that's what. Right, it looks like the credit card purchases were just $6,000 in January. The other amounts in there, I think, were, yeah, sorry, the credit card purchases were $6,000. It was, the other part of it was what they were reimbursing us for accounting services for 2020.
We're not involved, credit cards are not involved in payroll anyways, right?
Correct, and we do technically have, I believe, is it $130,000 that they, the cash advances, I forget what the cap is on that. So, I mean, we can make it contingent that it stays within the allowable cash advance.
And the reason is, and they don't wanna do it until the 10th is why?
Because their AP vendor runs are done on the 10th and the 25th of each month. They do it once a month. Kind of similar to how we do finance here. Those only get paid once a month.
Well, just change their dates.
I could propose that to them. It just coincides with, their payroll. And so that's part of the reason why I think they have it set up that way, because,
Coincides with the payroll. I don't think that, we're not losing interest here.
no, because we already give them cash-free or interest-free cash advances, so I can just say that the expectation is that, with those credit card payment or amounts that you're expected to stay within your cash advance. It's just that the original agreement, that when you guys approved it, was that it would be paid by the 4th of the month, because we thought we could just do a bank transfer and she could just transfer it from their account to ours, but it's apparently not that simple, so, they don't have like, ACH direct deposit set up that we do, so I think that's maybe why.
I'm okay, I mean, it's not gonna have a fiscal impact on the county or anything, so I would make a motion to move it to the 10th. Because of such a difference. To move the date that they pay us to the 10th and put it under a cash advance.
Okay, is there a second to that? Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Questions? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Retirement recognition gifts.
Okay, so in the past, Andy, the former administrative coordinator, would purchase chamber bucks through the HR budget to give to people retiring from the county. So we had 2 people with over 30 years of service retire, one at the end of January and then one just yesterday. So I purchased, again, $50 of chamber bucks for each of them, and I just would like to hear if the committee would like that to continue. Are you okay with that? Do you want to set parameters? X amount of years gets chamber bucks? Do you want to stop doing that? Are you okay with it coming from the HR budget?
I guess I've never been here 30 some years, it's,
They have at least 30 years of service. You're okay with $50?
If I come up to per year, a little over $1 a year.
I don't know, do we wanna put that high of a limit on it? I mean,
Maybe
somebody
20.
might be here 20, I mean, started here when they were 40.
And we wanna have, say, you know, like retiring under the WRS system, cause that's what, dictates whether or not we fund their post-employment benefit HRA. So, that's just kind of the wording in our personnel manual.
We can't even get people to come here for $1,000 purchases and you're here over $50. Thank you, you're trying,
This is going
you're doing the
directly
right
to
thing.
employees, so
Right,
the
so
optics on that.
That's why I wonder how much of a limit you want on it from a use standpoint. I mean, but like, if it's in the handbook,
For the HRA, like the HRA funding, so if you retire under the WRS system, the 75% of the value of your extended leave bank is funded into a post-employment benefit HRA. So, that's why I was thinking if we kind of use that same criteria, in addition to the 20 years, then we'd be consistent with, but, whatever you guys want to do.
it almost sounds a little simpler maybe, for those guidelines.
And then not
Just
put
follow
20
those-
years in there? And not put 20 years in as a stipulation?
I just say if you retire underneath those guidelines from the county, then you receive this. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there for argument.
I mean, I don't know that we necessarily wanna put that in the personnel handbook, but just so we have it documented in minutes that it's approved, I don't.
So, okay, yeah, it says when an employee retires under the Wisconsin retirement system after age 55. So,
That's what it says now.
yep, in the handbook.
Cause that would be for, but, protected employees, like if a deputy were to retire, I believe it's age 50. I mean, I think they're covered under a different handbook, but, so maybe we wouldn't wanna put the 55 in the.
Cause let's be honest, not everybody retires. Someone
Right.
goes and has a part-time thing to do, you know.
Well, we have an instance where an employee quit, and did, actually a couple of them in this last year, where they quit, didn't necessarily retire under the WRS system, or didn't, so we did it under, HRA. So, I mean, I think that using that wording kind of helps, you know, that it's like, your intent is to retire under the WRS system, you are retiring, because that's what would be a retirement gift. In addition to that, we'd be purchasing the frame, like a, make them up.
why wouldn't they be, you know, when you said somebody just quit, they didn't get their HRA, what was the parameters there that?
So it's not to retire yet then, right?
Right, they were quitting because they were retiring. So they thought just because they're over the age 55, they weren't drawing on their WRS, that they should still be able to get that. It's like, well, the policy says retiring under WRS. And one of them didn't necessarily quit on good terms, so, does it say good standing on that one?
Well, that's kinda, been on that road with that wording, then the intent is to retire and they've been here 25 years or whatever, that's kinda.
Right, but if they truly are intending on retiring, they would be retiring under the WRS system. I think we just ran into some unique situations. And I'm happy that the policy was in place because it's there for a reason. And the policy back up.
Well, we do $2 for every year of service. Then if someone's been here 20 years, they get a $40 gift card. They've been here 32 years, they get, I don't know. Or do
If we get too
$2
much,
per year
we're gonna have to
service with a
be-
maximum of $50.
If we get too much, we're gonna have to be taxing them on it.
So what's the max? The 50 must be okay, right?
But where do you start at? You know, you start if they've been here for a year? Wait, or,
Right, that's why Jamie and I wanted to bring this to you guys, because someone could come here for 2 years and then retire, and then are we really,
yeah,
been here for 2
obligated to do
years?
anything?
Right,
So before it was just kind of up to Andy's discretion, whatever he
Yes.
felt, and we want some guidance.
and it didn't seem to be consistent from what I've heard.
There was a lot of things that weren't consistent.
Well, most places you don't, you're not eligible for pension until, most businesses tell you to serve at least 10 years. You know? Maybe that ought to be a cutoff point, or starting point.
10 years.
10 years.
Well, I'm just saying, if someone's been here at least 10, then maybe have some kind of a token gift, or whatever you wanna call it, but, and a little longer, maybe a little, something a little better, but, I don't know. You can't have it, you can't do it for somebody who's been here a year, or a year and a half, 2 years. That don't make sense.
So minimum of 10 years and retiring under the guidelines that she stated, then they're eligible for a gift card.
You do it on, you always like to reward royalty.
Right.
Yeah.
And show
10 years is still a very loyal employee.
Yeah, I say
I mean, that's-
you like to show
you know.
appreciation for it.
Just because they started here at 48 years old or whatever they chose to do, they shouldn't be punished.
And I like the idea of having something kind of written, because then it's not, oh, we didn't like this person, whether you agree with somebody on everything or not, you shouldn't be discriminating against certain people, because, and I know that was kind of the direction in the past, but I like having this in writing that, 10 years, everybody gets it, $50.
Just exclude board members, don't it?
Put that in
Well,
there.
I don't know. It's right on the board for, of course.
Randy,
We can put in there full-time employee. It wouldn't fall under-
Yeah.
That'd be considered a full-time employee. I mean, there's been some very valuable part-time employees that have been here for a long time too, so I don't know if that's fair to rule that out.
Maybe we don't say under WRS, because in order to be qualified for WRS, you have to meet a certain
I
threshold.
mean, you think about it, there's been some individuals here that have been a very long time doing part-time, without saying any names, I'm sure there's a couple of them.
we could just exclude board members. Are we good with that? Well, I mean, we're getting $40 a meeting or whatever, that'd be almost that'd be a meeting's worth of, one day's work for one of us.
Yeah. So
Right, I don't need that
Or
much.
be retiring, like, another resignation letter would say something along the lines of retiring.
Well, in the same respect, what happens when we have a county employee that passes away? Is there anything set up for that? I don't think there is. Should there be something where the county recognizes that person some way?
And you wanna do current and past? I mean, there've been some board members that have been longtime board members that were no longer.
You know,
would probably say stick with current. You could get really spread out if you go on other paths.
Which, I don't argue with you.
Yeah.
I just threw that out for debate.
Well, I mean, when we did run into that situation between me and Connie and Jamie, we did that out of personal funds. I'm not necessarily sure that should be a taxpayer burden.
That's true, and I think you had pretty good responses.
Yeah,
from
we
people
did.
that-
Yeah, I think everybody was very forthcoming to donate to that. I don't have a problem with it. I'm sure others don't. So, I think we only have the one thing on the agenda here anyhow.
I'm kind of wondering too if for these retirement gifts that maybe like going forward it should be budgeted within the county, like, you know, starting in 2024, the county board budget, and for your years of service on behalf of the board supervisors.
Well, I did like $200 for chamber bucks.
And frames, if you're okay with that. Like, I had Al sign a certificate for each of the retirees, and then their department had signed it as well and just slid it into a frame.
Nice.
And maybe we don't put chamber bucks right in there because in some instances, like the employee passing, maybe utilizing that $50 to purchase a plaque or something in memorial of that person, you know, could be utilized instead of we're not limited on how we can spend it.
So with the frame and stuff, you're probably looking at an average of $60 per retirement.
Yep.
Well, I guess Tony threw it out there. Is that what you want to make for a motion, Tony?
I'll make a motion to start at 10 years. I don't know how much, I mean, I guess that's
Up to 60
what everybody's feeling is.
qualifying event.
Your motion is to start at 10 years?
Yeah.
Or like what, $2 a year or what?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Or what, any other suggestions?
I would say just $1, like the $60 to cover the frame and $50 gift. I wouldn't do $2 per year because there's other things that factor into retirement. Like if they have that many years of service, they're going to be getting a much larger payout for their PTO time as well as their contribution into their post-employment benefit HRA from their extended leave.
So you think leave the dollar amount the same per individual? is
Yes,
what
because I think
minimum
it would be hard to budget for that too. You know, we could budget, you know, say.
Leave it as is? Leave it as is?
Even at $50, if somebody was only here for 10 years, at the very minimum they could get that, that'd be $5 a year. I mean, for 10 years, you know, I've been at my current employer 14 years, but I'm on the long end nowadays. I mean, nowadays with all the job markets and stuff, it used to be when I started there, you'd have people that were there 30, 40 years all the time, but now it's like, you get somebody to stay 5 years and you're lucky.
Right, well, and that $50 doesn't seem like much, but for an employee that just retired last month, we just funded their, post-employment benefit HRA, and that was between the funding to the post-employment benefit HRA and the payout of the PTO, that was close to $20,000, and so that's a $20,000, you know, basically, you know, money to them as severance that we, you know, need to figure out how to fit that into the budget, because we can't fit all the, you know, we can't budget for that. We don't know when people are gonna be retired when we do the budget process, so now that's $20,000 that hit one budget in 2023 already, and then we have to replace that position, so I think $50 is sufficient, or, you know, $50 plus the cost of frame.
Yeah, I'm not saying more than that, I'm just saying it's not like we're
Breaking the bank on
being
that.
crazy if we give them $50 and it's only been, if we're consistent from 10 years to a million years on that, I don't think it would be crazy to give them $50 for 10 years.
So is there a written policy then, Ashley?
No.
Do we have to have one?
I would always prefer a policy, as Phil said, so it doesn't, no one slips through the cracks, it doesn't look like we're playing favorites, everything remains consistent.
This doesn't need to go to the county board then either, is it a small amount, or do we wanna take it to the county board and have them approve I think, I agree. Let it go to them and then the board is all behind, that knowing that's what we're doing.
So should we put it in the personal handbook and then just have that all updated?
Probably.
We'll do a resolution just to go to the board, you know, with that information.
So we're gonna be bringing the personnel handbook, all of the changes we've made to it in either April or May, and it'll be in a resolution in that time.
All right, activity, forestry, ARPA funds.
Have a motion on the floor, do you have a second?
Is there a second?
So is the motion and this,
There was not a second.
recommend it and to put it in the personnel handbook?
I would say recommend an update to the personnel handbook to approve the retirement gift in the amount of $50 plus certificate
And frame.
And then we're gonna full or part-time, or you just wanna do full-time?
What's that?
You wanna include full and part-time employees underneath this, or just full-time?
We don't have that many long-term, part-time employees, do we?
I think that we should include part-time. I'm thinking about the senior services employees that, have been here, you know, there's some that have been here a very long time that $50 isn't that much, but I feel like that would help show some appreciation for their
Yeah,
service.
I think so, that would be a good move. Include part-timers if they've been
It's
a
fine.
long time.
Are you making a motion, Phil?
Does Tony have the motion?
Yeah,
Yes.
So you want that to be your motion, or do you want me to make an amendment to your motion, or how do you want to do this?
make an amendment,
What's that?
make an amendment to it.
Why doesn't Connie read the motion that she's got in there right now?
Yeah, things taking so long today.
So I have a motion by Hauser to recommend an update personal handbook to include $50 for retirement gift and $10 for frame starting at 10 years of service for full-time and part-time employees and forward to county board.
That's your motion, Tony?
Yeah.
I'll second.
I knew we'd get there.
Okay. Yeah, motion to second.
Yes.
Call for the question.
We got there, Andy, we got there.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
There we go. We got it now.
Well, we're moving now.
All right, forestry ARPA request, are we gonna do anything with that, or?
We'll have to pass on that. They went out to the woods. So yeah.
All right, additional ARPA requests.
So that's this resolution. So I'm assuming that we don't wanna do anything with that right now.
Well, we know we're not doing the generator for sure, right?
What's that?
Yeah, I think that's how we left it off, is that we're not doing that at this point. And so,
So, I like the Hampsley site development on Audi Lake a lot better than like the courtroom stuff that got shoved on the last finance committee meeting that, there was only 2 no votes on. You know, and now we're in a situation where we didn't even know what was voted yes on. I'm just saying, I think that's a better idea than some of this other shit that got shoved on the article requesting before that people didn't vote no on. That's just my opinion. I'm okay that people are starting to say no to some stuff. That's good, but I would rather see some stuff like this for economic development than a bunch of audio and cameras and stuff that we don't even know what the project involves and shoving that type
And all
of
that
stuff.
stuff has already been bought.
Yeah, no, they got shoved through at the last finance committee.
And what,
It's in the minutes from the last finance committee.
to approve it or not?
They added it onto the ARPA request list. Got approved here.
Well, they got a bill here, does that mean it's already paid for?
For the courtroom?
Well, it sounds like they didn't even know what they were doing with it today.
Looks like, to me like it was all invoices.
For the courtroom?
Yeah.
That was probably the DAR, so there was, back when in the budget process, there was like $4,000 that was approved, for the wiring for that digital audio recording that the state was paying for. And so then they came back and they said, well, that we need, you know, that only put that
$63-some thousand
recording device in there, not microphones
which
and
got
stuff.
shoved on the ARPA request list. And I think we tried for other things, that people were board members on non-government entities and stuff like that, and we were able to say no to that, but.
Didn't that get shoved down though, because the project got started and then they didn't give us the right dollar amount and we had to finish it? That's what I remember going on with the courtroom.
Sort of, yeah.
So we had to finish the project because we were given the wrong figures the first time around, but we didn't throw anything extra on there. What she came in asking for today is above and beyond, I believe, correct? Now they're saying that they're gonna need, because they didn't have the RFPs.
Okay, so initially they wanted to have this courtroom, the audio upgraded down
Or
to
$5,000, right?
well,
Yeah.
it started out where they wouldn't get quotes. They were supposed to have the amounts turned in at the end of June for the budget process. Didn't have it. I kept saying, we need these quotes, and they were working with IT trying to get them quotes, and I'm like, okay, it's like September, October, we need these quotes so we can move forward with these ARPA requests. I'm like, I at least need a ballpark figure to throw in there, and I think Lori had told me like $45,000, so I put that in as a placeholder, and then
She came back and said it'll be way
that's
less
what
than
Jim came back and said,
Yeah.
$4,500, and it's like, well, how did we get to $4,500? Well, you know, the state, and they said, oh, the state's paying for the digital audio recording system, so we just need to do the wiring, which is only gonna cost $4,500.
Yep.
So then you guys were like, yeah, okay, hey, the state's paying for most of it, let's do it. Well, then turns out that didn't
Last month
include
they came
anything
back.
for that was just so that they could be compliant with the state, so that the state, you know, so a court reporter didn't necessarily need to be sitting in there dictating everything, but it didn't include microphones, so
And they sent them back.
so they couldn't do Zoom meetings and stuff in there, and so that's what they say. Oh, it's necessary because we're using that courtroom, and so we need this additional money.
So then then last month it came here for an additional $63,000, and that got approved
Yes.
Per RFPs.
per our
Right. We
fees.
still need to follow. I mean,
Right, but I'm saying,
They haven't came through with the
I'm
RFPs
saying
yet.
if we're gonna say no to something like building more under a campground, something that helps the whole community, and last month we're putting on there, yeah, sure, let's spend $63,000 on courtroom audio. I think this was a better idea than that.
But it was explained to us that we had to do it
Yeah,
in the courtroom.
sometimes I think.
Well, they didn't, they said the
Yeah,
original.
but I'm
the original-
going back to the original argument. Taking back
The
the original argument.
4,000, but she said the other part was not a requirement. You voted no on it, I voted no on it.
Right, but it was explained to us though the first time.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
We were given.
I remember that.
The water was made very muddy.
Yep.
It's like
And I felt I was wading through some of it again today.
it's almost like an ultimatum.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand why we voted yes to that last month, and then we got a problem with the campground. That's gonna benefit a lot more people
And bring in revenue.
and bring in revenue.
I don't have a problem with campground. I'd like the guys to do their due diligence and see what's available for grants, because they've done a lot of this stuff with grants, and I think we gave Jared that instruction last time he came in here. Or at least I thought I said it. You know, see what's available. And I know his plate's been full with taking on the new position and everything else, but I don't know how we can improve it right now until we know, you know, can he get a grant for 55 and we need to match 55?
I think on this part, they didn't figure they could get a grant, they figured they could get a grant for like bathrooms and stuff, and that's how they like, well, you remember at one time it was like $750,000, and they brought it way down, cause this is the part that they figured they couldn't get a grant for.
Yes. was looking into the rest of it for possible grants.
And if we give Mike further instruction, just double check, I mean, that guy seems like he's on top of his stuff, he puts the effort in, finding everything he can.
Well, if they can get the grants, I mean, there's gonna be other resources coming into the forest department. I mean, does it have to be our finished as another campground? I mean, if they get the grants, there's carbon credits hopefully coming someday. There's stumpage. I mean, okay, so does he need to put in his, he gets a grant, he's got so long to use that grant, can he put it in his next year's budget? I need $55,000 to match for this grant. I don't think anybody would be opposed to that if it was going to Audie Lake Campground expansion.
Can you use ARPA funds for other grants?
Well, he's saying come out of stumpage or something other than our.
Yeah, stumpage.
I get what you're
But
saying.
I
typically
mean, it could be built in his budget.
I agree.
typically with those DNR grants, there is no match. So when we can't use both DNR grant and ARPA is when they're used as matching funds. If we're
One to
using them
match the
both for
other,
similar the same project, and ARPA is covering the road and campsite development, and the DNR grant is going to cover the bathrooms, and trail development, that's fine. It's when, you have a grant where, we're gonna award you $100,000, but there's a 25% cash match or match on that, that's when you can't use them both at the same time.
You have to have separate projects on those.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Specified.
Or you can't have a match, those
They
requirements.
come up to other individuals.
And I'm good with that, I'm just saying that there was a lot of stuff that was shoved on that ARPA thing that nobody would vote no to, and then this was a bigger deal than that. But I agree with Jim that we should be looking for, other options if we wanna take the ARPA request for something else. I just wanna throw this away. I think that, if we ask Mike.
Well, that's a department that's a little unique where there's some special grant funding out there for different things, and where we have other departments that do not.
And forestry does do a very good job of trying to get grants everywhere they can. I remember, I think it was summer, July of 2021, there was like 11 grant reports that I was reviewing at the end of July, because it was all, there was 11 of them at the end of June for all of these different projects, and it was.
I mean, the other thing I'd like to see from Jared, I'd like to see the data. Are these campgrounds full all the time? Do they, I'm gonna assume he's probably gonna say yes.
Heidi has.
What do we need for an expansion? Are we gonna expand and then we're gonna have 10, 15 empty spots because we put in another 20?
I don't think so. So we raised our rates for 2023, and we already, as of yesterday's forestry meeting, have more reservations than at this time in 2022. And that's
Okay.
after raising our rates.
But I think he's gonna have to look at too, if we're gonna make these campgrounds bigger and bigger and bigger. Are we gonna have enough staff then to service them on the weekends when they're getting hammered? Garbage, sanitary, all that type of stuff. Who's gonna be taking care of this? I
That's
mean,
why we've got interns. Mm-hmm.
just saying.
Yep.
So it's
I
all
hear
been
ya.
thought through. Because these people are gonna come in on Fridays. I mean, summertime, you're gonna get small weekers too.
Correct, but the majority's gonna be on the weekend when everybody.
When the forestry guys, that's not their thing, So I don't wanna get down the road where we get this so big that, okay, now the interns can't handle it. Now we gotta hire somebody to help on the weekend look over the stuff. Now we kinda shot ourselves in the foot. We got too big.
Yeah, that's valid.
I recall a figure of $750,000 on the campsite development. Is this the same one, or is it something?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
this is
just
the same
part of
one.
it.
This is the part they figured they could not get grants for based on what,
Project.
like bathrooms and stuff like that, he figured he could get grants for. I mean, he really
That was for Murphy too, wasn't it?
knocked a bunch of it off with what he thought he might be able to get grants for. At least
Dr. Murphy.
attempt to.
With most of those on the lake.
So there's a new program that was implemented probably 3 years ago that tracks exactly who's camping, how many campers, the time that they camp. You can get that report for each camper. Show the data.
Is that same one where they can go online?
Pre-register?
And that-
reservations.
And that has really shown that, it's really increased our camping because of it. It's
Well,
much
the
more.
whole website in general is
Because-
bumped this up, right?
Right, cause when I was doing it, I was doing everything by hand. I was doing all the credit card payments, I was doing all the reservations, I mean, it was a lot.
And then somebody'd have to call you and everything else, but with the digital world we live in,
Right.
somebody sees they can make a reservation online.
I could not,
2 to 3
I
times
could not
a day.
keep up with it. I did, but I mean, Mike was answering, everybody was answering at the same time. But that basically, so this is really increased and shows exactly what the camping spot looks like. Actually, the site's very, very well done.
Well, the campgrounds I've been to so far, and I've been to all of them, yeah, they're very nice. But we were up one time ourselves to visit with some folks. When was that time we stopped visiting with some folks that we knew? They grumbled a little bit about the restrooms and stuff. There've been issues, so that's where my question comes in. Do we have the staff? Because if we go down this road and expand them, great, bring tourism to the county.
We better think of all the other.
We need is there a plan? Is there a plan on how we're gonna address this? Who's gonna be around to monitor all these campgrounds on the weekends? I don't have one or two interns that's gonna be able to keep up with it.
There's usually 3 or 4. And in Perch Lake, when that whole thing was done, there was a pretty big grant put out anyways for the whole thing.
And isn't there something with those campgrounds, isn't there like a resident person that,
So at Josie Creek, there's somebody that stays there.
Josie Creek's got a caretaker that stays there.
And I think Audie had a little bit of one this last year. I could be.
I don't think we.
You might come to that point with kind of all of them before it's done. If they get this large, have somebody at least so they can call the interns and say, "Hey, I need this or this taken care of." Right?
Didn't we put something out last year trying to get a caretaker at, either Perch or one of the lakes up there?
I remember seeing it somewhere.
I wanna say there was one at Audie as well.
That what it was? Did you get any,
I think they did.
did they?
Not as well as Josie Creek, but they might have gotten one.
Georgia Creek's been having one for
Long time.
8, 10 years.
Yeah, it's been there a long time.
So this, like for example, okay, the road campsite development in Audi Lake, I get that, we're building up road, and I think that was, we were gonna add to the existing, well, you're on Forest Street, we're gonna add to the existing campground.
Yep. And existing sites.
The one I got, so Josie Creek paving. If he's just gonna pave that hill to go up to the shooting range was what I got from the last explanation, I think that's a waste of
So
time.
that'd be the loop going to the east.
Okay, the loop going up to the east.
Or the campsite's back to the east after you come in.
Do they really need paving?
Is that,
Do they really need paving? Or do they need a lift of gravel? I'm just asking the question, do they get enough traffic where it pays to do that?
that hill we was wanting to do
Can't even
something.
afford to pave our own roads.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to him last time, what about just using some regrind or something off a road project sometime and hauling it in there and leveling it out, because you pack that in, right? I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to roads, but I know people use it for their driveways, I would think it would hold pretty good.
But it was, I thought they were talking about doing something with that bridge too.
Yeah, that's only a 10-ton bridge, ain't it?
That's pretty light.
It's a light duty bridge, so.
It's narrow,
Mhm.
one way.
That's part of this 51?
So the paving, from what I wrote
That
down, was
bridge is
Josie
actually
Creek
part of,
up to the shooting range, both loops for 51,000.
yeah.
What?
That bridge is part of Dewey's Road.
I think you go up that hill,
Yeah.
you get a little sift ice on that, that's gonna be way worse than having that gravel. I've been up that hill, but
Me too.
Well, I mean, I
it's
guess
steep, but you're just gonna spin no matter what.
I'd rather see the campground than the paving, I guess, the expansion. Probably was gonna go with one of them. But like you said, maybe we need to have Ashley ask Forestry a couple questions on that, you know, what their thoughts are for with staff and stuff. do a little more research, and like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to come on ARPA. I'm just saying I won't throw it away as a bad idea.
They were talking about having highway do it too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, you know, I mean.
If I remember right, that 51,000 was with highway, but I don't know that for sure. I think it was, highway was gonna do the work. Which at least then you're transferring money from one department to any other department.
True.
Well, it's not something that has to actually happen at this meeting, because, we're not gonna do anything anyway for a couple of months. Very earliest.
We'll just put this on hold.
I'd say, yeah, no, needs more info again.
Postpone it till next meeting. Postpone it till our next meeting anyway. Okay, I'm gonna vote to postpone it till next meeting.
Okay, got a motion by Tony to postpone until next meeting. Second by Al. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both say no. Motion carries. What do we got here now? Any of these additional, or was that it?
That's what it was, yeah, that was really this resolution,
Kinda 2 in 1.
yeah.
Approve the invoices. Well, I had a number of them written down, we discussed them this morning at length.
This is a thick one, this is.
Yes, indeed.
Is it just me, or does this seem bigger than normal?
There was a lot of credit card ones that are on there, so basically anything that has the due date of the 8th, or the 4th of the month, as you were talking about credit cards being paid on the 4th, those would be credit card purchases. So, there's a big backlog with some of the departments that put a bunch in at once, and so, you know, part of that is, you know, that, and then also, Brittany's the one that's doing credit cards and also payroll and all accounts payable, so, if something needs to get put on the back burner when we're busy with payroll and we have a ton of year-end changes with that, it's the credit cards, because there's nothing, they're already paid on the credit card. It's the checks that need to go out the door that are the priority and payroll, so, there's a bunch of those that got caught up, and she's still working on kind of hunting down invoices from different departments.
So question, I see we got CenturyLink on there for all these, and we got Brightspeed. Did CenturyLink switch over to Brightspeed? Or is there stuff that's still CenturyLink?
There's still some stuff that's in both, vendor names, I think. So I'm not sure
We're not
exactly
like
how
getting
that.
double billed or something, CenturyLink's billing us and Brightspeed's
No,
billing.
no.
And I know we have an agreement with like the city of Ladysmith for the library usage where it's kind of based on percentage. I see some of these other libraries we pay money to, is that because people from our
Yes.
county that are ordering books and then they ship them here?
Yep, or they actually physically go to that library. So it's, so that's actually based off of 2021 usage. So they.
Also nice by.
Yep, so each
Here.
library has to file a report, and then they give those reports to county by July 1st. So then we have to, and those reports kind of show what the cost per circulation is, and so then we pay like a percentage of that. And then that's due by March 1st, I believe. But we have to actually make that payment by. And it's for counties that are adjacent to us.
Yeah.
It's outlined by state statutes.
And we received, this thing has gotten turned around, we received more money than we paid out, it's the other way around. We were receiving, now we're receiving 13,000, and we're paying out, I think about 29,000.
So we gotta advertise in Rice Lake that we got a bunch of books over here. So they can pay us for renting our books.
I've got a theory about that, but I'll keep that to myself.
We'll talk later, maybe.
Is the library usage actually going down?
It's going back up now.
Is it?
Cause I know what you're thinking.
So what's the policy when or isn't there one? When someone just goes and buys stuff and doesn't run it through the proper channels.
Depends on if they're a county employee or not.
Yeah, if they're a county employee, they would be breaking policies and then they should probably be written up by head.
But if they're not a county employee,
Well, if it's under $1,000 and it's within their budget, they can do that.
right.
I mean,
But we have a few here that looks like they possibly went over $1,000.
so according to our policy, we can confiscate the credit card.
I mean, if we're responsible for it, I would hope it was made very clear here earlier this morning, but I've been hearing about this thing off and on for a couple months, and I was just waiting to see it here. But it needs to come to an end. Somehow it needs to be very clear to people that they need to run through the proper committees and get their approvals. And it almost seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm gonna get choked for saying it, but it almost seems like we got some games being played here. We're running to this committee because we don't think we need to go to that one.
Committee
Because they
shopping.
might approve it, and we're doing some committee jumping. And that nonsense needs to come to an end too.
I call that committee shopping.
Whatever you wanna call it. Leapfrog.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And we're the ones here that are gonna be, I guess we're gonna have the one that say no,
But
but
maybe a memo should be put out, but it's also not like Jamie can't go follow people around to make sure they're following the policy, that's on them. To read the procedures and make sure they're following policy, so I think that maybe we should put a memo and, hey, if you're not following policy, and just because an old board member from back in the day says we don't have to follow policy, that's not the case, we follow our policy.
they go through their committee.
Yep. And if not,
Some
They
people
might-
think it's just a joke, but they can go up, do whatever they want, get away with it, and they've been doing it.
yeah, and so maybe there should be, hey, we're giving you a pre-warning now, but we're gonna start taking some disciplinary action if we're not following policy, which is to go through your committees.
That drug course was $14.
I don't care if your name's Tony Evers, if you come in here and we're responsible for the budget and you're just gonna spend it how you see fit, he shouldn't be treated any different than anybody else.
Agreed.
What, Jamie, on, you've got some invoices to Fifth Asset, and those are subscriptions to get book releases.
That's for, the lease software that we purchased to be compliant with GASB 87.
Like
So
with who?
GASB 87, so it's really one invoice, we're just charging it, the majority of our leases are with the joint management properties, that's why we really need to purchase this software. There's a new GASB standard out there that says, you need to account for leases differently, and it's mostly for government-wide financial statements, but you have to account for the right to use the asset, and so, this software helps kind of formulate all of those entries together, centralize all of our leases. So it's mostly our tenant leases that are causing the headaches here. So,
Yeah, I've not seen those before.
no, that's brand new. Yep, yeah, property approved that back in December, yeah. I think it was December, cause it was after we went to that conference. I thought we could do the entries and calculate it on spreadsheets, and then after going to that conference in December, it was like, oh, this is much more involved.
Okay, so now those lease payments are, who's getting those?
Mostly Ashley, between the two of us.
Yep. They come to I think they come to the courthouse, generally attention of economic development, so sometimes they end up in my box, sometimes they end up in Jamie's.
Is that for the rental of the hospital?
Yep.
The rental of the hospital comes to me, and that,
Where's that fund stand at now?
what?
What's the balance of that fund?
Are they current with the rent?
Yes. Should
They
only,
they were behind for a while.
yeah, it'll just take me a second, because I've gotta look up, what we've gotten this year so far, and I can add that into. So they're paid through this month so far, and then we should get 2 more. So what we have right now is 3,345,746.66, and then we should still get about another 70,000. 3,345,746.66, and then we should get about another 70,000 before those payments stop.
Where's that at?
I believe that's a little over 2 million.
I don't want that one.
I haven't had any expenses to it, so.
We had another invoice to Sound and Logic for $7,000 on squad car. That was like radio system. I thought.
That's for the lights and the wiring.
Was that for 2? Because we bought 2 squads. Is that for both cars?
Let's load here. That was just for one.
One.
On the top, how much was it again?
$7,038.62.
Move that line.
Under S, Sound and Logic.
I recall seeing a big bill like that the last time we got squads.
So
Page 22.
maybe it, but it, it's moving it from one vehicle to another. So I mean, it's for one squad, but it's taking it off. 73. Let me see whose vehicle that is.
Looks like it came out of a 2018 Durango. No, we put a window bar in a 2018 Durango.
Who's got the Durango? Is that Sheriff's Department?
I think Grassman's got it.
No, he has a charger.
Oh,
You get it sharp.
Just a second.
Wallace had it at one time and then gave it up. I don't know. move
Yes, and
things
that
around.
became like the transport, so I think that was for equipping that one in, because when Wallace had it, it was admin, it didn't have all of the bells and whistles.
If I remember right, when they were talking about buying new squad cars, I think they said it costs about $20,000 to equip a new squad car.
It's not that much, but this was, okay, so I think the difference here, why it was so much, is because typically they take the lights and everything off of the old one and put it on to the new one. But this one, there was no lights on it, so they had to purchase the lights. So that's why usually it's about $4,000 or $5,000 to transfer things over to the new one, but because they had to purchase all the lights and stuff, because this was previously just admin car, it didn't have all the lights. That's why.
Was that figured in when it was, these were budgeted?
So, because this is part of the fleet, what's budgeted is the usage of it, and this was capitalized into it, so it's expensed over the life of that squad.
So we really don't have a way to put a dollar number on that until it happens.
Right.
Yeah, I think the cars, anything that equipment, installing the cars, that cost is over and above vehicle costs.
Right. And when we wait until we have all those costs before we capitalize the vehicles, so that depreciation includes the cost of equipping it.
Really.
And the radio equipment would be extra then.
But typically that just moves from one to the other. So there would have been radio equipment, it's the lights
In
and
that, in that 7?
I think that includes moving it, the wiring for it, but we don't buy all new equipment every time we buy a squad. That's why we continue to
Still
usually,
costs money to move it.
Yeah.
right, but usually it's like $4,000 to $5,000 to move it and, run the wiring. But this one was more because the old squad didn't have all of that.
Yeah, we had to put it all new. Yeah, I guess my only concern is does it get, is this just kind of a surprise? Here we go, here's what it costs, or does something get brought up about this ahead of time?
That's the equipping part is not part of.
Sounds to me like we need to, when we do hit squads from now on, they need to have the equipment figured into.
Should, yeah.
I would
And
agree.
maybe make sure that we're getting the most advantageous price from, because usually it is Sound and Logic. I don't know if there's other options or not.
Makes it real easy to make a squad car look like a good buy at 38,000, and then, oh, by the way, it's gonna be 46.
Yeah. The last ones we bought were 45, or 40, we just paid actually the invoices here, 39,000 something a piece.
Right,
That didn't include all the equipment, so that's over and above.
right.
You
So now you're up to 46, 47,000.
$5,000 just to transfer the equipment. Or five.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a $45,000
There
vehicle.
needs to be a way to handle that, because if it was in the sheriff's department budget, they would have to follow within that guidelines, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and part of this is like, the partition for the, between the cargo area and the back seat and then the front seat.
Double leaking.
Yeah, the crash bumpers and all that crap, it's all extra.
Yeah, so they try to, make it so that they can move it, that's why they keep buying the same style.
So the cages are different for each vehicle, a little bit, so we gotta.
But they'll know that when they order the vehicle.
Yeah, but
When they place an order for their vehicle, they know what they're gonna need for equipment, but right now, it sounds to me, and if he was here, you guys could correct me, but it sounds to me like it's pretty easy to just say, I'm gonna order a squad, and I don't have to worry about what it's gonna cost to equip it, because it's gonna come out of the fleet. Well, that's what I'm getting from it right now.
yeah, well, the thing of it is, most of the times when they order a new vehicle, transfer equipment, they don't fit anyway. Yeah,
They're gonna have to, I would say they're gonna have to start doing that.
the bumpers don't fit, the cages in the back don't fit, a lot of that stuff. The interiors are all different. So, when they quote the price of a vehicle, it ought to be some kind of figures. added on to the cost of the vehicle itself. As a true cost to the fleet.
Right.
So there's going to be new equipment that they put in there.
Oh, so a lot of it is.
Yeah. Won't transfer stuff.
But even the labor's transfer is a cost to the fleet.
Yeah.
Anyway, one more reason for now. Oh, we're gonna 5-year loan, forever.
Yeah. That's what you should say.
Well,
Yeah, because it costs a lot of money over, every year for transferring stuff into 4 new cars.
yeah, in 3 it's 15,000 just to transfer. Yeah, well, I'm saying 15,000 to transfer cost.
To do 4, yeah, we're talking $25,000 probably per transfers.
I bet you it's more than you
For
think.
new equipment, I should say.
I think I asked him at property, and if I wanna remember, it was about 20 grand to put the new
Right.
squad.
I thought it was like 5.
And yes, I was thinking of the 4 divided, yes,
Maybe he was figuring 20 for all
remember the
4.
20, I remember there was 20,000, but maybe I was thinking about 4, maybe it's
Yeah,
5,000.
it's usually right around 5,000. This one I think was higher because they had to purchase the land.
And maybe he had it somewhere in his total, but I don't recall.
I don't think it was for the squads, but I do remember asking at property, and,
He just lists.
20,000 came to mind, but that might have been up for all 4, so maybe it was 5.
He's listed.
Yeah, and I think that'd be a good question, are there other options? I mean, do we ever shop around? Is Sound and Logic the only company that could? I don't know.
Well, what was IT doing? Because last time, I thought I questioned some work that IT did last spring. Or somewhere in there, early summer. They were doing some stuff for the city and the county. And so what were they installing? Was it just the laptops?
I think so, but I don't know.
Because there was some stuff on there, and I can't remember where it was. I think it was in here. We were questioning why they were doing that and how it was getting reimbursed when we do it for the city.
A lot of it I don't think does, because he always claims it's just minor stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that was questioned. Property.
Somewhere it was.
That he's doing for the city, but he's not charging, because it's not, don't add up to that much time, but that's all I'd ever say.
Or that their neighbor program.
Does anybody else have any more questions on the invoices?
Yeah, my big question is how do we, are we okay to approve some things that didn't run through committee? How do we go about that? How do we handle it?
So which stuff are you talking about now?
That went through
The
drug
court
court.
stuff? So the property committee did approve that last week,
Okay.
It has to be paid,
after the
so.
fact, but
Which,
yes.
which was after the fact there, I mean,
Yeah.
pointed out, same thing.
So it was approved by a committee, so okay, that's
That's the fact.
my problem. So it was approved by a committee, but
We kinda gave her the same direction she heard here today, though, was she bought them and then after the fact says, oh, somebody pointed this, and apparently somebody on her committee said, why did you go through property with this?
Yeah, but she wasn't there.
I mean, people can't get it going forward here. Then I'm in favor. Shut their car down and they gotta come ask you to use it. If that's what it's gonna take.
I agree with that.
Get to that either.
So rules are not that tough to follow.
You know, for some people.
The wording's not clear then. Should be clearer now.
Well, every time you hear something about it, it's like, well, I was told this, but nobody ever references the policy. The policy told me I didn't have to. So if they're not reading the policy, maybe we need to make sure people are reading the policy.
Yeah, but the other thing is, they always say I was told, but they never said who told them.
Right.
Yeah.
Property
Yeah.
committee or this committee.
We have an anonymous source. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Somebody told me that I could just do whatever I want.
Just got all the answers.
Yeah, I don't, somebody different. Not gonna say who.
Okay, need a motion to approve these.
We do, yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion by Tony to approve the invoices for payment. Is there a second?
One second.
Second by Phil? Or Al?
Phil.
Any other discussion? Any more questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Any county travel?
Is there any?
I don't know.
Terry's not here.
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
Don't think so.
Somebody gets denied going to conferences because you said that you didn't think so.
Well, she would have the sheet if it was.
Yeah, usually she has a
Yeah.
list. You have something getting off in the last couple hours or something.
Got enough ballots?
That's something. Huh? That's unbelievable. Put out the money for. Gearing up.
Jamie, did you have county travel?
No.
I was right, Phil.
Me neither.
Yeah, you're right.
About not having travel.
I didn't disagree with you. But I did say, if there is, it's your fault if they don't go to their conference.
Yeah, pretty good.
There's the money tree.
We were going yesterday, she should have a lot of extra. Right, Brennan?
Yeah.
A lot of extra money you got at the money tree?
Still looking at invoices.
Alright, are we good? We're all good? Okay. So Rita, are you ready for Verna's report?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so what I wanted to come down here for is because, I wanna know if it'd be okay if I would contact some of these CDs and just take the withdrawal penalty. I mean, it outweighs a ton. I mean, we did take a penalty last on 2 of them.
Because you can get better interest rates. if you put
Yeah,
it
so
on
we're
those.
already at like 71,000 for this year. By getting rid of those and, you know, opening them up at like maybe 3, now 4%, now some are at 5.
Yeah, the two that I'm looking at here, they were set to mature on March of 23 and then, January of 24. So, but those interest rates were, the one that would have matured in March of 23 was 1%. And we got the new one for, where did it go? Oh, 3.93%. So we paid that particular one almost $7,700 in penalties on it.
How much?
Almost $7,700 in penalties for that one. So I don't know, did you see how much more interest we need?
Well, I think right now on those CDs, we had about 36,000. So, I mean, we've already picked up and surpassed that amount.
More than after you paid. the
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, so I was calling these different banks that we have, the 2 at the bottom here, the 2 Cumberland banks, I asked them what the penalty would be. They are at 0.75 and 0.65 at that time, you know, a year ago. That was really good. So I asked them about the penalty, and they said that they would, if we would leave them there, they would raise it up to 4.05. So, they did raise those up so that so we won't get a penalty. Yeah, that was really nice.
They won't raise them automatically though. If you ask, they will, huh?
Yeah, right, they won't do it automatic. I'm sure they're making a lot of money off of them.
Just gotta threaten to pull them, in this case.
So ADM, you know, I think it was probably back in November, you okay for me to, open some accounts with them? I've gotten the information from them now. We were doing tax settlements January, February, so now I've got a little more time. They sent me, they have one CD at 5.15, but only 250,000. So each time you buy something from them, it's going to be at like a 245,000 increment, so that it stays within the FDIC. And I'm like, well, okay, so if it's 5.5, I'm figuring in a year, these are 12-month CDs. In a year, it's going to gain almost $15,000. Wouldn't you put 37.5 in there? And I would have to ask the auditor.
Unless it pays quarterly and then
It doesn't. It pays every year, so then I guess it would be okay to put that much in there. Anyway, they sent me their rate sheet. So I would like to get, they only have one at 5.15. And that would be, I would put 245,000 into that. And then the rest, they've got a 5.05, a 5%, and a 4.95. So if I gave them 980,000, they would split those all up and into those 4 different CDs for a year. Just see, but now I thought when we were having our meetings with them, they didn't charge us anything, but they are charging us. Each one of those CDs, they're charging us $660.
There was a, yeah, I thought there was a flat.
660.
There was like different, they had different pay structures.
I thought there wasn't any charges, but anyway, that's how much each CD would cost us upfront. Which is really nothing, because we're going to be making like $45,000 in a year's time, so that comes to $2,500. I mean, it's really nothing, but we do have to pay that upfront.
Yeah, so it's basically like 1/4% is kind of what that comes down to.
Yeah, it's like 0.7 that figures out to me, so.
Where is this at?
This is ADM, and so what they do is take that money and they put it into the different FDIC banks. And what we do is they've set up like an account for us, an online account. We can log in, put money into a money market there, and then they take it out of there and put it into different banks.
And locally, your interest rates are running what, in the 4 area?
Yeah. Like I said, Cumberland gave me that 4.05. I also have a CD that's coming due tomorrow at Federal Savings and Loan. They said that they would give me 4%. I left it in there. That's also, I think, for a year. I kind of like to leave some in our local banks just to keep, you know.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So I would like to do that.
Do you think, what are the advisors telling you, or maybe you haven't asked them, is a year what you're gonna have to do to get these 4 to 5% rates, or is there an option to put a 2-year on some of these?
Well, that would be, see, when you go higher, the less the interest
Unless
rate
they wanna
is.
pay.
But I think at some point, within the next few months probably, that's something that we wanna do, because once the Fed starts dropping their rates, these CDs are gonna fall fast. Their rates are gonna fall fast, because they're gonna realize that, you know, I mean, right now it's just unreal with what the Fed rate is.
I think we should be taking advantage of it, cause I heard them already playing with some of the mortgage rates.
Yep, the mortgage rates have come down a little bit already.
You know, and, yeah, this, you know how this stuff is, guys. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, but you gotta go with that feeling, and I guess we
You gotta-
really
yeah,
need
you
to go
kinda
with the
gotta play the game.
advisors. Yeah, we gotta go with what the advisors recommend to us too, but I'm kinda with Vern on that.
ADM will be sending me something weekly. Apparently they said they have. I have not received anything at all. It might have been going into junk or spam. I have not seen a thing from them. But I don't know how much I can be playing with. And I guess I really don't want to be coming, you know, if I'm gonna be doing something with ADM, I don't really want to have to wait to come here every time, because every week it changes, you know.
But we don't, if we do business with ADM, we don't have to do it all with them. You can select what you want to, right?
Yeah.
Well, the rates are better. I mean, even if they take their cut or whatever, kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? And you researched them and feel comfortable?
5.15 is really good. And it's probably still gonna go up. Yep, 1 year.
That sounds
You know, that
pretty
roughly is gonna come out to, you know, take 0.27% off, or points off of that, so it's under 5% really, but, you know, gotta get it when we can.
So do you need a motion from us on this, or what's the thought?
I don't know if I need a motion, but,
You wanna make sure you have our blessing.
exactly, I want your blessing, and maybe just set a limit for me to be able to send to them. Like I said, I'll be getting something every week from them.
What are you proposing now to send to them? Is it $1 million?
Well, I wanted to send them 1 million, but when they sent this back, I thought it was all, because it's just new, I thought it would all be at 5.15, but it's not, there's only one bank. So only 250,000 or 245,000 can be at that 5.15. Then the rest, I mean, it's still good. One is 5.05, 5%, and 4.95, but I'm assuming in the next couple weeks, it's probably gonna be maybe a little bit higher. I can put another 245,000 towards that. Kind of get
And they take how much again for administrative or whatever?
$660.
Yeah, $660. Looks like per 250,000, 245,000.
That's a year?
Yep, that's
It's a one-time.
the initial, yeah.
So that's,
Do they all charge an administrative fee? I can't
Well, this one, when I was looking at Charles Schwab, I don't think that they charge, but what they do is if they got a CD for 5.15%, they might get us 5%, and then they're getting a 1.5.
Okay.
You know, we're not using an accountant.
It's basically a broker fee, like, so if Verna goes to the local bank here, we get all of that interest, so I mean, she could probably go to all these banks where they're saying this is the interest rate, but that might be a negotiated interest rate that ADM has, and if you go there, if Verna goes there by herself, she might not get that same interest rate.
I think a broker fee is not unusual.
not in this situation, no.
And especially if you're getting, you know, that's, at this point, that's good interest.
Mhm.
Definitely.
So I do have, you know, I don't know how much, I'd like to get it like a sum of money that you'd let me put in there over the next few months. Most of these CDs are coming due because the interest rates were so low, I only took them out for a year or 18 months anyway, so.
Now,
Both those Cumberland ones are gonna be coming due May and July.
those were for a year, or not?
Yeah, that's a year.
And then, say, for instance, you had to take them out, is, you know, penalty? be on the list or not?
Oh, yeah, they'll be, yeah.
Now, will that rate still be valid in July? Or what's the quote?
Yep, these are a flat set rate.
More they pay, I'm sure the more the higher the penalty will run, right? Is that how
Well,
it works?
usually the penalties are like 6 months of interest. You know,
Yeah.
that's the
So
standard.
the higher they pay, the more, yeah.
I'm okay with, I think it's a good move.
Anyway, we can match the money.
I don't know how our, our cash flow looks, for investing.
Did you send
As
them
we go on.
your report for your treasurer's report?
Yep.
Okay.
As long as we can keep up with our cash flow and.
Yeah, 'cause this would be mostly CDs that you have a CD that's maturing for, that you're gonna move there, is that where that money's gonna come from for this?
This one, I'm gonna probably take it just out of our checking account. Yep. I mean, we have, I don't know, the pool keeps going up, and I'm just leaving that money in there because that's, last month we got 34,000 out of the pool for interest on our general, so. Compared to $337 last year.
I mean, so would you transfer money from the pool then back into the general, you just think there's
Yeah.
enough money? Okay. So it basically come out of the
It
LGIP?
basically come out of there.
Okay. Which has, 9.8 million in there for the general.
I don't know what we're spending this year out of our cash.
Budget, I wanna say it's like 2.6 that we spent on
The projects.
yeah, because we're not borrowing this year.
Like I said, the other thing too is I'd like to just have your blessing or whatever to take the penalty, like on the one at Dairy State, unless they offer me something really wonderful. That's at 0.55. I think they would charge me, they said, just under $1,750. But then change that to a 5%, it's just,
Go ahead and do it.
okay. That's basically what I wanna know.
They'd almost have to give you like 4 1/4 and no penalties to leave it there to be a wash versus the 5.
Mhm.
I mean, quick math. If the dollar amount's the same,
Yeah.
240, 250 range.
So there's that one, and then I've been trying to get a hold of Royal Credit Union, and I know that they have a good CD out there right now. And I was going to see if maybe they would do that same thing that Cumberland did, just give me that increase for I think that one is due in October. See if they would do that. I don't know. Otherwise, I might go back to Royal, it's been really good to us too.
So what's your thoughts? Are you thinking like 50% in the ADM? I mean, is that where you're gonna-
990,000.
What's that?
She's thinking of putting 990,000, buying 4 CDs.
But is that kind of 50% of what you're looking at total to move around right now, or what's it on a percentage
No,
basis?
I don't know. I would say that maybe I would, over a period of time, maybe have money with them if they keep going on.
And what do we have kind of total?
Well, I've got those coming due as well, so I mean, it was
Sure.
kind of, from now until August, when we start paying our August settlement, there's money to play with. After that, then it's just like, can.
Tax dollars, you gotta.
Yeah,
coming
because
in
right
and
now we
going
could
out.
invest those tax dollars, yeah. Like I said, there's CDs coming due if we get low, you know, then they can just go right back into our general and just stay there. And also, we have a money market that, you know, is getting pretty good interest right now, but that could also be.
I mean, is this, any of this stuff with ADM something that Rich needs to look over?
He's already looked over the contract.
And he was good with it? He
Yep.
didn't see anything?
There's quite a few other, counties that use them as well.
I don't see a problem with it, from what I've heard. so
I don't
far.
either, I think, you know, as long as our cash flow is good.
Whatever I do, I'll run it past Jamie.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
it's
you
nice
know,
to
you
keep
kinda
it.
know what I'm
Because at first I was
doing.
like, oh my gosh, $7,000 in penalties is a lot, you know, when this CD would have matured in 3 months, but we're still making an extra $4,000 of interest net, so.
Well, that's,
And
no
we're
brainer.
getting,
We discussed that a couple months ago, I think, if this opportunity came up, we need to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the other thing is in 6 months, who knows, that opportunity might not be there, it's 3
Yeah.
months.
Well, right, and like, I think what will happen once it starts going down, when that Fed rate starts going down, I think the CDs will go down a lot faster, you know, and we'll be back to 0.06, because that's where we were last year at this time, 0.06.
The banks are more likely to lower the interest rates they're giving you than to lower the interest rates you're paying them.
Yeah.
That always happens a lot.
Yeah.
These are all for a year though, huh?
Yeah,
I'm almost wondering if a person, if he knew they were, you know, a person who had a crystal ball, if he knew where they were gonna go, so they should be going in for 2 or 3 years. I know the interest can be lower, but in the
well,
long run.
I do agree that within the next couple of months, I think we should do that, because they're gonna go down.
I think it's gonna take a long time to get back to where they were. Is my gut.
You mean down to 0.06.
Yeah. Yeah, that,
But I think below 3, I bet you that'll drop.
that could very
I
well
think,
be.
yeah.
So, I mean, so worst case scenario, you take the 5 now for a year, you re-sign them, maybe at 3 in a year, still over 2 years, you average 4. Doesn't sound like you're gonna get better than
Yeah,
4
well, right
in
now,
2
the ones
years.
that are out there, for a longer period of time aren't paying very much. It's not, you know, they don't want, they don't wanna commit to that, so.
So you said you got some coming up in July?
Yeah, it was Cumberland,
Do you want me to throw it up there? But-
Yeah.
Security Bakery in Auburn is May, Royal is October.
I gotta be out of here in 20 minutes.
Huh?
So I gotta be out of here in 20 minutes.
You get a hot day.
Yeah, with my
Oh, boy.
Is that good?
Quite a bit coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can, I would say, take advantage of it.
Okay.
Probably won't come around again. He probably won't come around again like that.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to
Might
see
go
what
higher,
the reports
or if they go
come back
lower.
for us too.
That 4th one down, that's an 18 months? One or 18 months, yes.
Yeah, and those new ones are 19.
Or 19 months.
So those 2 bottom ones, the 12 month,
Okay.
those are the ones that they put up to 4.05. So they were 0.75, 0.65.
That's not bad though for 18, 19 months. So, what we're hearing right now.
You're looking for a recommendation in the minutes. Is that what you want? A recommendation in the minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess I should have something to back that up.
Consensus of the board to the committee to, invest.
Take advantage of the higher interest rates.
Advantage of the higher interest rates.
Okay.
And take penalties as long as the interest exceeds. And I'm putting those penalties into a separate account, so, just so I don't wanna net the expense and the revenue, but don't be alarmed when you see penalties showing up in Verna's budget for.
Yeah, not because I'm not paying the FICA.
Yeah.
We understand.
We'll probably still ask you to get it,
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Alright, thank you.
Okay. Ashley, do you have anything?
I'll just give a quick update. So the wage study was approved at county board. We wrapped up the appeals process yesterday with Carlson Detman. The judge was the final position with the drug court coordinator, and that was unable to attend because of her court schedule, so we decided to pull the drug court coordinator from the appeals process. If she still has concerns about it, she can submit it for reclass. So the final 3 positions are facilities manager, chief deputy confidential secretary in the clerk's office, and real property lister in the treasurer's office. So now that we have settled that, they will have the results of those appeals back to us by the first week in March. If those positions are appealed up, there would be a bit of a financial impact from that, but it's just those 3 positions. So any questions on that?
Anybody?
Okay. Nothing on joint management. I think we should be meeting here within the next couple of weeks, I would hope, because we do have some things we need to discuss in terms of like the Gates building. Ad hoc committee updates. We will bring to county board next week, putting out an RFQ for architect and RFP for construction manager. At this point, there's no cost associated with that. We would have to see what we got back from those proposals, go through the master planning committee for interviews, and then we would have a cost probably by April's county board meeting, I would think. And then there would be a fiscal impact if we do decide to take that step to get plans.
I do have a concern with the construction manager at this point in time.
So it was recommended to us that as a cost-saving measure, you get an architect and a construction manager at the same time. The reason for that is you might get an architect in here who draws up wonderful plans, and then you decide to go with those plans. You bring a construction manager in and they're like, this isn't gonna work. You know, it might work on paper. Right, so then you would have to go back to the architect and say, we need to start from scratch, or we need to put it in a different location, and then you're just incurring all of those extra costs. Whereas if you have the architect and the construction manager at the same time, we can get better cost estimates and plans that are actually feasible.
So, would a construction manager be a full-time person early on? I could see.
It's a company that we would hire, like Market and Johnson,
Yeah.
or whoever else.
So it'd be a contracted,
Yeah.
you know, it's not, we're not hiring somebody.
Because, for a construction project like that, I mean, you would have an on-site manager. That's its big bills.
Right, but that's not our employee.
Yeah, that would be contracted service.
I would think if you got to the point of doing something, then that would be included in that project cost. And where was our thoughts that we're gonna if this goes through, where's that possible money gonna come
Reimbursement
from?
for bonding. I mean, provided that we move forward with, I mean, the project.
That question
And
I'm
so-
sure will get asked next week.
Yeah, if we
Where's
don't
the
end up,
money
if we
coming?
go through with the architectural and then you guys say, hey, we're not building this jail, then we would have to come up with that out of fund balance contingency, something.
Yep.
Because we would, that would no longer be a capital project, that would qualify for bond reimbursement.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
No, I'm not gonna.
All right.
We've already discussed it.
Okay.
And we had a separate meeting for that, so.
Yes, okay. And then the hospital building transition, as Tony mentioned, the clinic building appraisal came in at about $1 million. I was in the hospital for a tour with Impact 7 a couple of weeks ago. They're the company that's working with this city, looking at possibly redeveloping the building, if we were to want to sell it to them. They have not gotten back with any kind of proposal or numbers or anything like that yet, but they are working on it.
Did they give you an indication that they would come up with a proposal?
Yes.
So the proposal, if that building was sold, we would lose the tear down, the wind down, tear down fund. But we would keep
Money to pay.
All the rest.
the, what do we call that fund for the rent?
All the
Yeah, rent money.
Yeah,
Rent
that's
money.
ours.
Okay. Okay.
And at the property meeting, we voted contingent upon what the insurance company says that on May 1st, after Marshfield vacates the hospital, we would shut off utilities.
Shut off what?
Utilities.
Utilities.
Oh, utilities, okay.
We're gonna be okay in there in a concrete structure with that basement and everything, with dampness and.
Did you, insurance company give you okay?
We haven't contacted them yet.
No, I have another question that I was waiting for an answer back on that I was gonna rebuttal,
Okay.
but, I think I might just have to hunt it down.
I guess I'd have some concerns with being a block structure built into the ground, shutting off all the utilities,
The only concern
the
I have,
moisture.
the only concern with bothering me is if we're interested in clinic, and we're not interested in the hospital, is if the clinic utilities are dependent on, you know, whether that can combine with the hospital or dependent on the hospital.
So the same heating system furnishes both set of buildings, you're saying?
I say I don't know. We need to find that out. If we cut off the hospital, that's gonna cut off the clinic.
And how big is that building, the clinic? Anybody know roughly?
Those are 18,000 square feet.
Somewhere in that 20,000, something like that.
That just sounds like an astronomical figure that was thrown out right now.
Chris
Yeah.
Rusk.
I'll say it. Sounds like somebody's out of their tree.
Well, what I'm getting at is, if we don't have any if there's no problem for us to cut off the utilities for the hospital, and we don't own the clinic, why should we worry about it? If the city's worried about it, we'll let them pay the utility.
Well, if the clinic's worth $1 million, and looking at square footage, I mean, then the hospital should be worth 5 to 10.
Yeah, you said it, yeah.
Well, I mean, you know,
Okay.
if we're gonna talk foolish, let's talk foolish.
I think the clinic building personally would be a hell of a lot more convertible than any of the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, it's all one story for one thing.
I kinda feel like we're being held a little bit hostage over a 99-year
We
lease
are.
parking lot.
I think we are too, but I think we're being held hostage primarily because of that parking lot.
Yeah,
That's a big factor.
yeah. Yep.
But we do have to agree on the appraiser for that too, so if that number $1 million came from their appraiser.
We still don't know what the price is gonna be, any kind of a reasonable price on the asbestos abatement. you know, and then we don't have a cost, as a result of that, we don't have a cost on demolition. So, you know, there's two unknowns we don't have yet.
Can't do anything there till they move out. They're gonna be out of there by March 13th.
Right.
That's the paper said.
That's when the clock
Is that
starts.
what we do?
They'll vacate April 30th, and then Gary already has the asbestos company scheduled for May.
So they're keeping the utilities up until April 30th.
Yeah, it's in there.
Just making sure. If they go out on the 15th, they said shut everything off. That's
But that, on April 30th is when the clock starts, somewhere.
Yep,
A 2-year clock.
yes.
I almost wonder if the board, just throwing it out there, it's not for us to decide here, but I'm almost wondering if the board needs to put together a committee just for this.
Yeah.
What'd you guys do in the past when it came to the hospital? Did you have a separate committee or did you handle it all at the board?
For the hospital?
I mean, this scenario we got here, do we need a separate committee or can it be handled by property or, I mean, it almost sounds like it's gonna get kinda in-depth.
It is an in-depth.
And then the full board's gonna wanna make the decision anyway, though, so are we wasting time having a
Maybe
committee
we
hash
are.
it and then take it to full board and then have full board hash it out?
I think that'd be the simplest, because it's gonna come to them anyway.
Just leave it at full board.
Final decision on that.
Oh, it's a hard copy.
Well, right,
Yeah.
right.
You know, no matter what, a committee would say there's going to be pros and cons, you know, when you bring it to a county board meeting.
The only reason I brought it up is a committee can get together quicker and meet more often if
They
they
can.
need to discuss things versus the full
But
board.
it's all going to get hashed over at a board meeting. No matter what the committee would recommend.
Right.
My mind is made up on what to do with that facility out there, but I'm sure there's other board members that don't have their mind made up yet. I don't know if they're gonna be convinced or not, so.
You just want the
Are you
generator.
pointing me out now?
Huh?
Are you pointing me out?
Al just wants a generator. Now that he heard today, he just wants a
I
generator.
think he wants that MRI machine. Yeah.
Randy wants the MRI machine.
Oh,
MRI
okay.
machine.
No, they're all valid points though when it comes to that equipment. I was not aware of some of those things that happened in the past out there, so.
Okay, so that's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you. Anything in your report?
No, we got 5 marriage license. February 21st is the next election. We're already gearing up for the April 4th election, pretty much done with everything. Ballots are ordered for that one as well, so it's a pretty quick turnaround. Dog licenses are coming in. We just have, I think, 7 more municipalities to go, and then we have everybody already in the system, so. And we have a new person in the office, Tracy Larson, doing a great job.
How come you didn't bring her down?
Oh, I can.
Yeah, I think she needs to, has she met everyone?
I think so.
Well, that's a bad thing right there. She needs to meet everybody else.
I mean, the other
I'm
people.
just teasing.
Oh, I agree.
What you call mixed marriage?
Yes, it would be.
All right, did you have anything? Jamie?
Update on the ambulance. Rich sent out a letter yesterday, saying, we want you guys to, apply these items that haven't been posted and return all of our records back to us. In this last month, I spent quite a bit of time dealing with, trying to get access into softwares. Expert Billing claimed they never had our TriTech software, that they don't have access to it, so I forwarded the guy emails that he sent me with reports from that software that they don't have access to. So miraculously, after multiple calls with the software company and getting him, now he thinks he has access to it. I really haven't heard much more from him. We hopefully will, hear a response back, which asked for compliance within 10 days. They have have heard a little bit from Dorota, one of their, building specialists, that she was trying to get stuff cleaned up, so I hope that's a good sign. But we're really happy working with LifeQuest so far. They do, there are some differences before with the billing company. When we would transition stuff to collections, they would still carry a balance, and so then we would have the billing company post payments against those accounts that were in collections. But with this new billing company, when they move it to collections, they take it off their books. So we'll just have to kind of figure out how we're going to account for that. But I think what we've decided was that LifeQuest does their own collections. They have their own, and they are willing to match the same rates that Alliance charges us. So I would like to have them handle collections on the accounts that they bill for, and then once we get everything cleaned up with the old billing company, transition like the accounts that can go to collections to Alliance, just to kind of keep things cleaner. So we're working on that transition process still.
So you're saying all new billing would be with LifeQuest, for collections and everything?
Yes.
And then anything that transfers over that has to go to collections would be
go to Alliance, yeah. So that way it just kind of keeps things a little bit cleaner.
Especially since they're kind of starting on a mess of what they got left.
Yes, and once we get the accounts from expert billing, we'll have to figure out if everything can actually go to collections, because they're supposed to, you know, if there's no contact for 120 days and there's been multiple statements sent and a final notice, that's when they go to collections. So I'm not, you know, based on the timing of when expert billing should have, they bill through August, by the time we get everything transitioned over, theoretically, everything should be able to go to collections. But if there are people making payments on accounts, then we probably will want to transition those specific accounts over to LifeQuest rather than to collections. So,
Did he give him a time frame to get this?
Rich's letter said, it said 10 days. I don't know that he's gonna necessarily comply, because, they haven't been super responsive, but maybe that'll light a fire.
How many days is it?
Well, he sent it yesterday.
Yes,
So,
okay.
yeah, along with the list of the items that I have been emailing them on a monthly basis that we'd like to clean up, so. There, but so far, LifeQuest has been good to work with. It sounds like they're.
Did he send it through the mail or hand delivery?
He sent it, yeah, they're like in Minnesota somewhere. So.
Hand delivery.
Ashley,
I
thank you
could
for
have done
the
it this
trip.
weekend, yeah.
Kind of some things that we got the answers to.
Make the motion to actually deliver.
Actually, doesn't have to deliver, they can hire somebody to serve it, but
Oh, she offered.
this deal's been going on long enough.
All right, the last thing on the agenda then is
Yes.
schedule the March finance meeting. Jamie's got a comment there, so.
Yeah, I'd like to take that week off. So I was thinking,
Any suggested dates?
the week after would probably, if we move it up, then we have to make sure all the departments get their invoices and stuff in ahead of time. If we do it the week after, like the 23rd, because we actually do have an extra Thursday in the month of March. So if we do it the 23rd.
I cannot do the 23rd, I know that for a fact.
Okay,
What?
I cannot do the 23rd.
Yeah.
What date?
that's a
So that's
Thursday.
that day, or how about 22nd?
That's a Wednesday. No, Wednesdays are bad for Phil. Or, but Tuesday the 21st, would that, I look at the.
Tuesday's 21st for me.
Yeah, there's a meeting in this room at noon, starting at noon that day, but. It'd be hard to be out of here. I didn't think the meeting day would go this
We
far.
can't be out of here. if we don't-
Yeah.
Can't do the 23rd.
Well, no.
You can't,
21st is a
21st,
no-go
Jim
for
can't
you,
do
Jim?
21st. Okay, what about the afternoon on the 20th? There's a highway committee meeting,
That we can do.
so, what about the afternoon on Monday the 20th?
How late in the afternoon? Cause Mondays I got a meeting, last I'll probably go at noon.
Okay, so 1 o'clock, work?
One works for me,
1 o'clock on Monday the 20th?
if it works for everybody else, I don't get a meeting here.
I can make it.
What day?
1 o'clock on Monday, March 20th. I can send you guys, well, that's not gonna help Alan, but calendar appointment for it.
That'd be good, then I don't forget, we'll
Okay.
go down for that.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock on the 20th.
Yes. We gotta be out by 6.
Oh, God.
What is small animal?
Well, I got, training at fire hall.
It's something to do with the.
5:30
Yeah, there we go, so 1 to 5:30, 4.5 hours, it should be done.
on that day?
Yeah,
Well, Phil's got training.
well, not till 5:30 in the evening.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
till
you're right,
5:30,
yeah.
sorry.
We'll be done by 4:30.
Yes.
Problem?
You promise?
Randy, we
Yeah,
can
we'll
keep
get
this moving?
done by
Okay.
John told Al on the last county board meeting that a good, chair would have us out in an hour, and it went on for all kinds of hours. 11:30.
Didn't work, did it?
It did not work.
Okay, do we have anything further? There's nothing further, we will stand adjourned.
Oh, Phil, you just made